Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to score in SoccerShift using Player Stats Pro. So once you're in the scoring interface, you'll be on the roster tab. The first thing you'll want to do is check off the players that are playing in the game. There's two ways to do this. So you can just click the checkbox here at the top and it picks all of the players. Then you can unselect some players if you need to, or you can individually check off the players. You'll notice an orange little ball appears here, and what it's doing is it means it's not saved yet, but as soon as it turns green, it's been saved. So as you score in the system, everything's automatically saved for you. If you want to change the player's number, so if they're playing with a different number, you can just come in and you can change the number. By default, it pulls the number set on the team. If a player number is already in use, it'll tell you that. So we already have a 77, so let's just pick a different number. There we go. By default, if the goalie, see if you have two goalies in the game, it picks the first goalie. So Austin gets put in net, but if you want to switch that, then you can just change it up here. So I'll just roster some players on this side. Now down here at the bottom, there's these buttons for adding players. You may not see these buttons depending on your permissions. If your league doesn't let you add players, then you won't see these buttons. But if you see them, you can. So let's add an away player. So there's three kinds of players. There's an active player, that's a full-time player on the team. A call-up player is just a player that's sparing or temporarily playing for this team for this game. And then a game star doesn't actually create a player at all, it's just for holding stats for the game. So we'll just create a new player, Ryan Smith, and we'll just give him a number, 81. And we'll set his position, make him a forward, and we'll click add. So when you add a player, it automatically rosters them to the roster. So there's Ryan, number 81. Also at the top here, you'll notice that it says you're on the Players tab by default, and there's a Coaches tab. If you want to roster coaches as well, then you can click off the coaches and you'll roster them as well. And you can assign penalties to coaches. So once you have your roster figured out, you want to score the game. So you can either click this Score button up here beside Roster, or you can click this Continue to Score Game link. This is the scoring interface that you'll be doing all the scoring of the game from. So the first part of it is this where it says period and clock time. This is pulls in automatically the amount of time per period that your league set up. And you can start the game by clicking the Start Play button. It changes the status from not started to in progress. Anytime you can just click the button to stop the play. Or on your keyboard you can hit the spacebar key, it's a shortcut key, and you can start and start the play. As well, there's these little up and down arrows, and you can adjust the time like this. Or if you want it, you can just come in and you can manually just type in and change the time. So we'll start the play. So let's add an action. So the first action here is goal. These are the main game actions here in blue, and there's some secondary actions in gray. So let's go through them all. So the first one is goal. Now there's two ways you can do it. You can click on goal, and it'll take you into the goal window, or you can just click, there's a shortcut keys for it. So this is the home side, so you can push H on your keyboard and you can push G. H home goal HG. So let's add one. So I'll pick the scorer and pick the assist. Now you can click on the number down here, or you can just type it. It's up to you, whatever you find is easier. And in this example, we're doing indoor soccer, so there's a strength associated with it. So even strength, power play or shorthanded, and we'll just leave that. And then whether it was scored via kick or a header. So we'll save the goal. So the next action is foul. So if there's a foul occurs, then you click it, and by default now you'll notice it pulls in the clock time. So I clicked foul, and then when I clicked it, the clock up here read 11:56. So it pulled in and put the time here. Now if you want to change it, you can just edit the time. But if you want it, you can just leave it if it's the correct time. So we'll click the foul player and the player that is fouled against. This is an optional field. If it doesn't have the little red star, then it's completely optional. You don't have to put it in. So we'll click save. Next one is penalty. So by default it shows up the penalty types here on the side here. So we could pick blue card and we could pick holding, for example. Now that's one way of doing it. Or you can just use this search box by default, and you could just start to type what you want. So I can just type hold, and it auto completes. It says did you want holding? Yes, I do. And now we'll pick. It asks you for the player that committed the offense, and then as an option you can say who was against by, and if someone has to serve the penalty for that person because they were ejected, then you could put in a serve by if you want as well. Power play opportunity is does this penalty generate a power play opportunity for the team? Now again, this is just indoor soccer only, but if it does create a scoring power play opportunity for the team, then you can leave that checked. If it doesn't, then you can uncheck it, but in this case we'll say it does. So we'll click save. Next one is player shot. So let's click shot. So if a player takes a shot, say number 12, by default it says save right here. So the goalie made a save. You could say it was missed, it was blocked by someone, it hit the crossbar or post. Now you notice as soon as you click blocked, it asks you for the blocker. This is an optional field, but you can say who blocked it. So we'll say 59 blocked the shot. The next blue button is a penalty kick or a shootout. Again, this is just indoor soccer only. But if you want to add one of those, then you can say which team took it, who was the shooter, did they score, and we can say yes, and we can say it was a shootout, and the strength in which the penalty, power play, shorthanded, or even strength, and we'll say save. So that's the main actions there, and then we have some secondary actions as well. So if you want to change your goalie, now there's two ways to change your goalie. You can either click this goalie, change goalie button here, this gray one, and it shows you the different options, but then you have to fill it all in. Or there's kind of a faster way of doing it, which is you just click on the linked goalie up here, and then by default it automatically highlights everything for you. And by default it says pull for extra attacker. Now if you want to change them, you want to swap the goalies out, you can click change, but probably most likely you're pulling for an extra attacker, so you can just leave that and you'll just click save. And then it lets you know now that during this time, since you pulled your goalie, there's an extra attacker on the field. If you want to return the goalie, then you can click on extra attacker and it automatically highlights return. It shows you the previous goalie on and off times down below, and it shows you the returning goalie. You can change it, but it automatically puts the same goalie back in, and you can click save. The next one be timeout. So if you want to set a timeout, it's pretty simple. It just takes what time the team called their timeout. If you look down below here at the bottom, then you can see it says all, and it shows all the plays. So this is all of the plays that we have been putting in so far, and it shows the most recent play at the top. It's all based on the period and the clock time. But if you want to filter these plays, you can. So you could just click these are just filters down, but that's set plays. So it just shows the goals, just shows the fouls. Now, if you want to delete or edit a play, you could. So I want to delete this timeout, I could say delete. Or maybe I want to edit that first goal, so I could come in here and maybe I'll change the assist. So you can just change that if you need to. So at the end of the game, sometimes after overtime or there's a potential shootout where teams will just kick free kicks to see who wins the game, decide the game outcome. So in the event there's a penalty shootout at the end of the game to decide the winner of the game, then you can click penalty shootout. This is round based, so you'd put in the first round and you got to select a team and you pick your shooter, and then you can set the goalie, but it picks the goalie because it knows there's only one, and then you can say that they scored, and then you could say round 2 away, and then if he doesn't score, well, actually you'd have to complete the first round for both sides. So the system automatically adds an extra goal to the winning team, awards them a goal, and then you don't have to it automatically ends the game for you. So you just complete the shootout, and then you're good to go. You don't have to assign the extra goal to the winning team. At the top here, you have a few extra tabs. So once you've added a penalty shootout, then it shows the shootout tab. You can just get back into it by clicking up here. Under the details tab, there's the game number. There's the type of game, whether it's regular season, exhibition, or playoffs, the time zone, the date, the actual start time and end time. So maybe it's a 7 o'clock game, but it doesn't start till 7:12. Then you could put in the actual start time and actual end time. There's the facility it was played at, the surface it's played at, which is like the rink or the arena in the facility which it's played at. Tickets link, which will be filled in ahead of time, but a link to sell tickets to the game, or a link to a live stream to watch the game online. There is a attendance box. You can put in how many fans attended the game. And next one is officials. So you can put in which officials worked the game. I haven't added any in the system, but if there's been officials added to the system, then it would show them in this list, and you can click the add button and add the officials that worked the game. You can select the stars of the game. So, and this is if you might not see this depending on if your league records player stars or not. But you can select who were the stars of the game. And the last tab is notes. So you have your public game notes. These notes are displayed on the public website, and your private game notes. These notes are not displayed. These are just for internal use only. So once the game is final, what you'll want to do is you'll want to set the game from in progress to final. There's a few extra options here to note. You have a forfeits. If your game was forfeited, you can forfeit in different ways. Or if the game was canceled, you can do that as well. But once the game is final, you can just turn it and set the game to final. Now you can, if you notice after that you made a mistake in any of the stats, you can make changes. So you could change an assist or add a goal or make any changes to the stats. Even though the game's already been set to final, they'll still apply. It's just once the game's set to final, then it'll allow the game to be calculated for the team's record, for the standings, for their wins, and all the stats data will be calculated at that point. So things to note is up here in this dotty menu, there you can swap the sides of the opponents. So you can swap the home and away sides if you like. And there's a link to the game sheet. So if you want to get the game sheet, the paper game sheet, and as well, there's a link down here. It also goes to the game sheet. This is a full screen, toggle full screen button. I'm already in full screen mode, but you can click it and you can toggle the full screen if you like to give better use of your monitor space. And lastly, there is a button up here. It says, it's not a button, sorry, it's just a label. It says connected and it's got a green circle. And this means that you're connected to the internet. So how it works is if your connection drops, if you're on Wi-Fi and maybe it's a little bit spotty and it drops out for a second, or even a wire connection and you lose your internet connection momentarily, you can continue to score the game. There'll be no interruption to scoring. You keep putting your goals and all your events, game events. And as soon as your connection comes back, all the events will show up as orange because they're not saved yet. And then as soon as your connection comes back, as long as you haven't closed your browser tab, then the connection comes back and all the events, the system knows there's unsaved changes, and it will go and it'll change all the orange circles to green and it'll save them all. So, and everything is live saving as you go. So that's it. Now the game is final and all the changes are saved, and that's the entire scoring interface. Thanks for watching.